welcome to the deep dive. It's absolutely great to have you with us today.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
You know, when you flip through one of those glossy travel brochures, there's this expectation of just simple, easily digestible beauty.
Oh, for sure. Everything is perfectly framed.
Right. You see a picture of a picturesque canal, a brightly painted boat, and the bold text just points at it and says, the Venice of Portugal.
Which is such a cliche.
It is. It's clean, it's romantic, and it's just neatly categorized for your weekend getaway.
Well, it's a very comforting packaged reality, right? I mean, we tend to like our travel destinations to be immediately recognizable, something we can consume quickly without having to do too much homework.
But then you step off the tourist track and actually look closely at a place like Aveiro, Portugal. And suddenly that glossy brochure feels completely inadequate.
It really does, because you realize you're looking at a cultural landscape that is remarkably complex and really layered.
And that is exactly what we are doing today. We are throwing away the brochure.
Love it.
We've got a massive stack of sources here, and we want to figure out how this city actually works. Our mission today is to explore the true soul of Aveiro, discovering how salt, the sea, and some completely unexpected shifts in fortune created a city with an incredibly rich cultural memory and a surprisingly vibrant modern pulse.
Yeah, and the stack of sources we're pulling from today is incredibly diverse, too.
Oh, it's huge.
We're looking at comprehensive travel guides, detailed historical and architectural texts, and this really fascinating academic paper by Annabella V. Simones.
That paper is so good.
It is. It's all about how street art shapes local identity. Plus, we've got early 2026 cultural event programs for the local theater and some extensive museum archives.
So, okay, let's unpack this, because to really understand Aveiro's art and its modern culture, we first have to understand the water that literally built it.
The water is everything.
Right. When you search for Aveiro, the first thing you see are the Moliceiros. Those are those iconic, brightly painted, crescent-shaped boats navigating the canals.
Yeah, the ones everyone takes photos of.
Exactly. Now, tourists treat them like romantic Venetian gondolas, taking these leisurely sunset cruises. But looking at the historical text, I realized my initial assumption about them was totally wrong.
Most people's are.
I assumed they were out there fishing, but the sources say they were actually dredging up seagrass, which makes sense when you realize this entire sandy coastal region needed massive amounts of fertilizer just to grow basic crops.
Yeah, the boats were basically the heavy-duty pickup trucks of the 19th century lagoon.
Pickup trucks, I love that comparison.
Well, it's true. I mean, the word Moliceiro actually refers to that seagrass or aquatic vegetation. These boats were engineered with incredibly low drafts, allowing them to navigate the shallow, muddy waters of the Rio de Aveiro.
Which is that massive coastal lagoon system.
Exactly. So men would use these long rakes to harvest tons of algae by hand, pile it high onto the Moliceiros, and transport it to the surrounding agricultural lands.
Sounds exhausting.
Oh, it was brutal. Before modern chemical fertilizers, that grueling manual labor was literally the only thing keeping the region's agriculture alive.
So the water provided the fertilizer that fed the region, and it also provided something else of massive economic importance, right? Salt.
Oh, absolutely. The white gold.
The Salinas de Aveiro, the ancient salt flats. Aveiro's geography makes it perfect for salt extraction. And by the 12th century, Portuguese salt from this specific region was prized globally.
It was a huge economic driver.
And even today, if you visit the salt flats, which sit right between the city center and the San Jacinto Dunes Nature Reserve, you can still find a marnoto.
A traditional salt master.
Right, a marnoto's still out there harvesting salt.
Yeah.
And the thing is, they aren't just historical reenactors putting on a show for tourists.
No, they are actual artisans doing the real work.
So how exactly does that traditional process work without, modern industrial machinery?
Well, it relies entirely on an intimate, almost instinctual knowledge of the natural environment. I mean, the marnotos use the tides to channel seawater into a series of shallow geometric clay pans.
Okay.
From there, they just let the sun and the Atlantic winds do the work of evaporation. And as the water evaporates, the salt crystallizes.
That's totally natural.
Yeah. Then the marnotos use these specialized, long-handled wooden tools.
Wait, wooden?
Yeah, they never use metal. Metal would rust and taint the harvest.
Oh, right. Makes total sense.
So they use wood to painstakingly scrape the fragile crystals from the surface, and they gather the salt into these large, blindingly bright, white, pyramid-shaped mounds along the banks just to dry further.
Wow.
It is an incredibly physically demanding process dictated entirely by the weather.
So when you look at the foundation of Aveiro, you aren't looking at delicate romance. You're looking at a rugged, hardworking community whose survival was entirely dictated by mud, sweat, and the tides.
Exactly. It was a tough life.
Which brings up a massive contradiction that jumped out at me in the architectural text.
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
How does a rugged, salt mining, algae harvesting fishing town suddenly transform into this elegant hub of delicate Art Nouveau architecture? Because the buildings we see in our sources are stunningly intricate.
Right. What's fascinating here is that the catalyst for that transformation came entirely from outside the lagoon.
Really?
Yeah. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, there was this massive wave of Portuguese immigrants who had gone to Brazil to make their fortune.
Oh, wow.
And when they started returning to Aveiro, they came back incredibly wealthy.
So it was new money.
Lots of new money. And if you suddenly acquire that kind of life-changing wealth, you want to display it. You want to signal to your hometown that you are modern, successful, and cosmopolitan.
Right. You want the biggest, flashiest house on the block.
Exactly. And at the turn of the 20th century in Europe, the absolute cutting-edge way to show off was Art Nouveau.
So they completely abandoned the classical, rigid architectural traditions.
Yep, they tossed them out.
And hired renowned architects like Francisco Augusto da Silva Rocha and Ernesto Carotti. And they built these imposing residences that featured organic forms inspired by nature. You know, sweeping curved lines, asymmetrical shapes, and intense floral motifs.
It was a total aesthetic revolution for the town.
The sources note there are 28 specific, beautifully preserved Art Nouveau buildings in Aveiro, which actually makes it part of the prestigious Réseau Art Nouveau network across Europe.
And you can really see the peak of this in places like the Museum of New Art, which was originally Major Pessoa's house.
So the pictures of that place are wild.
The facade is just an absolute architectural playground. It's a profusion of stone carvings depicting delicate flowers and animals, intricately wrought iron balconies that look like twisting vines, and brilliant, colorful tiles.
It's gorgeous.
It really was a conscious, extravagant shift in the city's identity, from functional to purely beautiful.
And what's cool is there's a perfect bridge between that modern secular wealth and the city's deeper history. The House of Soft Eggs, or Ovos Moles.
Oh, the pastries, yes.
It is this exuberant Art Nouveau building where they sell the city's famous sweet egg yolk pastries. But the story of those pastries actually ties us back to the hidden religious wealth of the city.
Right, it's such a great connection.
As I understand it, the nuns in the local convents used egg whites to starch their habits, to keep their clothing stiff and white.
Leaving them with a massive surplus of egg yolks.
Which you can't just throw away.
Exactly. So the nuns combined those leftover yolks with sugar, which, by the way, was brought over during the Age of Exploration, to create these incredibly rich, sweet pastries.
And today they're shaped like shells and fish, honoring the lagoon, and sold out of these gorgeous Art Nouveau shops.
It perfectly connects the labor of the convent to the wealth of the modern city.
Which leads us directly into the architectural marvel that completely contrasts with the Art Nouveau mansions, the Museu de Aveiro, also known as Santa Joana.
The former 15th century convent of Jesus.
Right. While the returning immigrants were plastering their new wealth on the outside of their homes in the 20th century, the real wealth of Aveiro used to be hidden away behind convent walls centuries earlier.